What's up, guys? Today I just wanted to speculate on some Pokemon singles. What cards that are immensely cheap right now have opportunity to pop off or grade really well, have really good margin when you grade them. And this is something that, it's very speculative, it's not guaranteed. It's very, just my opinion. I'm sure people will disagree, some might agree, but some of these I'm buying, and some of them I've had luck buying or grading in the past. So this is kind of where I'm at. These are cards that I think that are undervalued right now, that are insanely cheap, that I think you could probably make some money on either grading or holding multiple copies in the future. First one I want to go to is this Pikachu Vivid Voltage card. First of all, there's a lot that this card has going for it, right? I know if ripped through the Sword and Shield era, these VMAX cards, these non-alt art VMAX cards, were very much kind of viewed as like, garbage hits, right? Nobody cared. Nobody cared about these cards, but they are slowly starting to get more and more appreciation, especially when you look at the bigger names, the Umbreons, the Gengars, and what we have here, the Pikachu. This one's a little bit behind because, it's a promo, but at $7.70, it's not bad. It's got Chunky Pikachu, which has a lot of, adoration towards. He looks great, and as these cards begin to age, the stigma of this being an ugly hit will slowly start to decrease, and when they become scarcer and harder to find, people are going to appreciate them more. You also look at this card and you could see that it sells for about $75 in a PSA 10, and the quality on these are pretty strong. The centering's not always great, but compared to Scarlet and Violet, these VMAX cards had pretty solid quality, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that you can get a handful of PSA 10 worthy copies. 65 bucks, 65 bucks. I recently sold a copy to PSA for about 71 and some change. So definitely some good margin there after grading fees. So that's definitely a card that I'm eyeing. And when you might think, these VMAXs, these old school VMAXs don't do a lot, but if you look at this Gengar VMAX, this is a perfect example. This card was literally $7 about a year ago. I bought a bunch of these copies at $7. Did I hold on to them till now when they're $50? No, I didn't. But at the time, they were $7, exactly where this Pikachu is right now. And this Gengar, it is a little bit of the alt art FOMO Gengar, but nevertheless, you could see that the appreciation for these regular VMAX cards is starting to increase. And I think this Pikachu has a great chance of following the trajectory of this Gengar here. Up next, we have the Magneton regular ETB promo from Surging Sparks. You guys probably know where I'm going with this one if you're familiar. The artist behind this card is Shinji Kanda, and everything this artist touches does very well. Obviously it's hit dependent, it's rarity dependent, and Pokemon dependent. But you look at the Giratina from Lost Origin, you look at the Magikarp, you look at the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved, you look at the most recent Seismitoad from Black Bolt. Everything this guy touches, it does well, and this card, being a promo, is still undervalued, and I think it's going to follow that same trajectory. We have a Gen 1 Pokemon. It's a super cheap card right now, coming in market price at about $8.78. And it's definitely, there's a lot of copies out there because it's the ETB promo. It'll take a little while to age probably, but nevertheless, people are going to look back at this era, and these Shinji Kanda cards are going to be very highly appraised and very highly sought after. Even the reverse hollows. I've seen reverse hollows of his more standard half art cards going for $100 in a PSA 10. People don't mess around when it comes to this artist. He's got a very unique style. His name is spreading very quickly. Every new set that comes out, he's coming out with an IR every other set, or at least a bunch of half arts. People are starting to really hop on the train with this guy if they haven't already, and this Magneton card is going to do well. It also is not a bad buy straight out in a PSA 10. You can get it for around 40 bucks. 40 bucks for an IR alone is a good deal. $40 alone for a Shinji Kanda IR in a PSA 10, that is a crazy good deal. You look at the way some of these ETB promos are aging, right? The 151 Snorlax is around $250 now. The Hidden Fates, Moltres Zapdos Articuno is like 3 to 350. Like, these cards are gonna age well, and if you stocked up on a bunch of these PSA 10s and $40, a couple years from now, that's gonna look nice. So this is a good card. I would not uh, be surprised if this thing is worth quite a lot more in the coming months and years. Maybe, yeah, I don't want to say, with how fast everything's blowing up, this year, it's easy to say something's going to be, big next month, but I'm more of looking in the 2 to 3 year frame with a lot of these because you never really know. You never know. Things have been so crazy for so long that I can't guarantee anything is going to happen. Up next, Surging Sparks Feebas. This is an illustration rare that is overlooked in my opinion. It pairs with the Milotic, which is a special illustration rare from Surging Sparks. Very cool card. And the reason why I'm eyeing this Feebas is because there's a lot of nostalgia with Feebas for those who played the Generation 3 games. It's kind of like the Magikarp of Generation 3, right? It's this ugly Pokemon, and it was incredibly difficult to get in Generation 3. I don't remember the exact process, but you had to like swim. You had to use the fishing rod, and you had to swim in a specific square in this one little lake in this one spot. You could only find him in one spot in the entire game. And people who played that game, they have nostalgia for this card. So I think Feebas, this card is going to do well. It's not going to be some crazy, $500 PSA 10, at least maybe, not for a long time. But it is, at like $7, it's a good buy in my opinion. It also sells decently well. I mean, it's another cheap PSA 10. Around $50. This one was 44. Like, this is a card that I could see being $100 PSA 10, not too far in the future. And again, it's that nostalgia factor. It's the connection to the Milotic card, and I think there's just a lot of underrated appreciation for Feebas. People say he's ugly, but that's kind of like the whole vibe, right? Moving on, another card from Surging Sparks, Skarmory. I think Skarmory is a very highly appreciated Gen 2 Pokemon, and this card is only $8.44 right now, market price. And it's got this really cool artwork with the painted sky. It's chilling on the van. I think this card is underrated. I don't really have any strong arguments outside of that, but being a Gen 2 fan, living through Gen 2, I know that Skarmory has a lot of appreciation. And considering he hasn't been getting a whole lot of love in ultra modern sets, I think this card is going to age well. And the PSA 10 has much higher margin than some of these other illustration rares, right? It's going from 100 to 115 bucks. So if you order a bunch of these, I've graded a handful of these in PSA 10. If you order a bunch of these and you get a couple PSA 10s, you can make a profit relatively quickly. It's a nice PSA 10 price point at this point in time. And it's a cool card. I like this card. It's really just more of a personal opinion thing, but I do think that there is nostalgia and people like Skarmory. So that's why I'm going for that one. And last but not least, Pidgeotto from Obsidian Flames. This is, a part of the three Kanto Bird Trio art set from Obsidian Flames. You get the Pidgey, the Pidgeotto, and the Pidgeot. And this card is still around $7. And the reason why I like this card is because Obsidian Flames is starting to go out of rotation, right? Well, I mean, I think it is out of rotation. I'm not super familiar with the TCG, but it's not being printed anymore. Starting next year, I believe. We're not going to be seeing it. Obsidian Flames cards have been creeping up. Especially when you saw the big Charizard chase pop off. Obsidian Flames has been slowly increasing, and this is another card that I think has some nostalgia attached to it. It's a Generation 1 Pokemon, and Pidgeotto is featured pretty heavily in the anime. Is he, one of the favorites? Not really, but he was Ash's Pokemon. He's featured pretty frequently between, the first season of of the anime. So I do think that there is some appreciation for Pidgeotto. You know, it's kind of hard to argue on behalf of the middle tier evolutions sometimes, but this card at only 656, I think it's gonna do well. It's gonna, I could see it being like $15, you know, a few months from now. I don't know, maybe $20 in a year. It's really hard to throw exact figures out there, but I do think that at $7, you know, the whole bird line from Obsidian Flames, I think the Pidgey is around $10, so I didn't include it. Pidgeot, I still think is relatively affordable. Haven't checked that price in a little while, but I do think the three of these cards are going to age well, and the Pidgeotto is especially overlooked. So if you're looking for a cheap card that should appreciate well, I think Pidgeotto's there. And additionally, if you find a bunch of them and you grade them, this, you know, because the quality in Obsidian Flames isn't super strong, you're getting these $150, you know, roughly $120 to $150 PSA 10s. So some good margin there as well. But yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. Just 5 cards that I think if you come across, they're under $10, and I think that they're gonna age well. I think, you know, the strongest were probably at the front end of the video, but nevertheless, it's hard to find cards that are under $10 in this day and age that have some upside. So I had to kind of, you know, dig through the weeds on here on this one, but I really think that a few of these are going to surprise us and are going to age well. So if you're looking for some singles to grade and to stock up on, especially when you look at that Feebas and that Magneton in a PSA 10, only around $40, that's a good buy. I really think, especially that Magneton is going to age very well. But yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. Appreciate you watching. Magnum Mike. Catch you next time.